You don't have a discipline problem, you have a negotiation problem. Every morning, you sit at the table with your weaker self and you bargain like a politician. You ask how you feel. You wait for motivation to arrive like a rescue team. And while you're waiting, the world takes your time and sells it back to you as regret. Discipline is not a mood. It is power. It is the ability to move when your body votes no. It is the ability to keep a promise to yourself when nobody is watching, when nothing feels inspiring, when the day is ugly and the mind is loud. Most people build their lives on the softest foundation possible: comfort, convenience, choice. They keep every door open, they keep every option alive, and that is exactly why they stay weak. A man with too many options is a man with no spine. If you want monster discipline, you do not need more motivation. You need a system that survives your emotions, a daily minimum that cannot be argued with, a protocol for bad days, a loop that makes hard work automatic. Because once discipline becomes automatic, you become dangerous. In this video, you're going to build discipline that doesn't depend on weather inside your head. You'll get a non-negotiable daily minimum that keeps your chain unbreakable, a bad day rule that protects consistency when motivation dies, a simple routine loop that runs on autopilot, a focused protocol for stressful environments, a way to study and work under pressure without collapsing, a plan for staying consistent when life turns hostile, an identity shift with proof tracking so your mind starts obeying the evidence, a relapse recovery protocol so failure stops being fatal, and a weekly monster test that hardens the whole system like steel. By the end, discipline won't feel like willpower. It will feel like a lever you can pull on command. Let's begin. Most men think discipline is a personality trait, something you are born with or not. That belief is convenient, because if discipline is genetics, you never have to take responsibility for your collapse. Here is the truth. Your undisciplined life is not a mystery, it is a design. The modern world is built to keep you negotiable. Endless choices, endless comfort, endless stimulation. Your brain is being trained like an obedient pet, not to create, to consume, not to endure, to escape. So when you try to work, you are not fighting laziness. You are fighting a system of automatic self-protection. Your mind sees effort as threat. It will offer you a deal. Scroll now, start later. Rest now, win later. Pleasure first, pride never. And because you keep accepting the deal, you have trained yourself to believe your own excuses. Monster discipline is the opposite of that bargain. It is the ability to act without permission from your emotions. It is the ability to keep promises under stress, under boredom, under humiliation, under chaos. It is sovereignty, not over other people, over your own nervous system. And sovereignty is built the same way every empire is built. Laws, borders, enforcers, a minimum that cannot be negotiated, a protocol for bad days, a routine loop that makes work automatic, a pressure method for when the environment is hostile, proof tracking that rewires your identity, a recovery protocol so relapse does not become a reign of weakness. We are not chasing motivation. We are building a machine. Rule 1. Discipline equals power, not mood. Mood is weather. Power is architecture. If you only move when you feel ready, you have built a life that can be canceled by a bad night of sleep, one insult, one stressful email, one small inconvenience. That is not freedom. That is fragility dressed up as self-care. Monster discipline begins when you stop asking, "How do I feel?" and start asking, "What is required?" Your emotions are not commanders. They are reporters. They describe the moment. They do not decide the mission. So, here is the first law. You execute the plan on schedule even when the mind is complaining, especially when it is complaining, because every time you obey the complaint, you teach your brain a simple lesson. Resistance gets rewarded. And once resistance learns it can stop you, it will stop you daily. You are going to reverse that conditioning. When you feel heavy, you do not interpret it. You do not diagnose it. You do not romanticize it. You treat it like background noise, and you move anyway. Not because you are inspired, but because you are training a higher identity, a person who acts on command. Think of discipline like a weapon you draw, not a feeling you wait for. Mood is soft. Mood is negotiable. Mood is an excuse factory. Power is simple. Power is repeatable. Power does not need a speech. If you want to know whether you are disciplined, don't look at your best days. Look at the day you want to quit. Look at the day you are tired and angry and distracted. If you still execute something on that day, even small, you are building the only kind of discipline that matters. Because discipline is not how hard you can go when life is easy. It is whether you can still move when life is hostile. Rule 2. Create a non-negotiable daily minimum. If your discipline depends on perfect conditions, it is not discipline, it is a hobby. A daily minimum is the smallest version of your standard that still proves obedience. Not progress, obedience. It exists for one purpose only, to keep your identity intact when life tries to break it. Most people fail because their plan has only one setting, full intensity. So when the day gets chaotic, they do nothing. They think it's all or nothing. That mindset is how weak men stay weak. They keep resetting to zero. Your daily minimum kills that. It is small enough that you can do it even on your worst day. Sick, busy, depressed, angry, traveling, humiliated, doesn't matter. But it is not comfortable. It must sting a little. If it feels like nothing, it will build nothing. The minimum is not a rest day. It is a declaration. It says, I do not break promises to myself. Here's the rule. Your minimum must be specific, measurable, and finished fast. A set number of minutes or sets or pages, not work on my goals. That is vague. Vague goals become optional, and you do it early, not when you get time. If you schedule it late, your day will steal the slot. The world always takes what you leave unguarded. This is how it looks in practice. On a good day, you do the full plan. On a bad day, you do the minimum without debate, and you treat it as sacred. You don't negotiate. You don't adjust it because you're emotional. You don't make up for it tomorrow. Tomorrow is how people lie to themselves. A monster is not built by heroic days. A monster is built by the day you did the minimum while your mind begged you to quit. That is the day your discipline learns it cannot be bribed. Rule 3. Stressful environment focus protocol. Most people only work when the room is quiet. The phone is far away. The mind is calm. The coffee hits, and the universe approves. That is not focus. That is dependence. Your discipline becomes real when you can produce inside noise, inside pressure, inside people, inside unpredictability, because the world does not care about your ideal conditions. It will hand you chaos and demand results anyway. So you need a protocol, not a hope. Here's the focus protocol for stressful environments. First, reduce the battlefield. Under stress, your brain panics because it sees too much. Too many tasks, too many threats, too many open tabs. So you give it one target, one objective for one time block, not 5. 1 second, hard start. No warm-up scrolling. No, ease into it. You start with the ugliest 5 minutes, the part you are avoiding, the first sentence, the first problem, the first set, the first page. When you attack the hardest edge first, the rest of the block stops feeling like a mountain. Third, physical anchor. Stress pulls your mind into the future. Worries. What if? What next? You drag it back with something physical and repeatable. Same seat, same posture, same breathing rhythm, same opening action, pen in hand, laptop open, timer on. You are teaching your nervous system a cue. When this happens, we work. Fourth, aggressive boundaries. Under pressure, people will interrupt you, notifications will hunt you, you don't try to ignore, you remove the attack routes, phone out of reach, do not disturb. One tab, door closed or headphones on. If you cannot control the environment, you control access to you. Fifth, close the loop. Stress makes you feel like you did nothing because the mind only remembers what is unfinished. So you end every block with a hard stop and a record. One line written down, what I completed, what the next step is. That single note prevents the next session from turning into confusion. This protocol turns chaos into a trigger. Noise becomes your training ground because the goal isn't to become calm. The goal is to become effective even when you are not. Rule 4. Bad days rule. Reduce volume, keep the chain. Your worst enemy is not failure. It is the gap. One skipped day becomes 2. 2 becomes a week. A week becomes a new identity. And then you're not a person who missed a workout. You're a person who fell off. That story is what kills you. So you need a law for bad days, not inspiration, not self-punishment. A law. The law is simple. On bad days, you do less, but you do something. You protect the chain like it is your spine. Bad day definition is not just sickness or disaster. A bad day is any day where your mind starts bargaining, any day you hear the voice say, "Just today," any day where the task feels heavier than it should. That is the day you activate the rule. Reduce volume means you cut the size of the mission, not the existence of the mission. You shrink the session, you shrink the reps, you shrink the pages, you shrink the time, but you do not shrink the standard of obedience. The goal is not to win the day. The goal is to keep the ritual alive, so your brain learns that discomfort does not cancel action. This is how monsters are built, not by intensity, by inevitability. When you skip, you teach your nervous system a dangerous lesson. Pressure equals escape, and once escape becomes the pattern, your brain will manufacture pressure just to get its reward. On the other hand, when you execute the minimum on a bad day, you teach a different lesson. Pressure equals procedure. Resistance equals work anyway. The brain stops wasting energy arguing because it learns the argument does not change the outcome. And here is the hidden benefit. Bad day effort is more valuable than good day effort. Good day effort proves you can perform when it's easy. Bad day effort proves who you are. So when the day is ugly, don't chase redemption with a heroic plan. That's ego. That's how you burn out and break the chain tomorrow. Lower the volume, keep the chain. A monster is not someone who never struggles. A monster is someone whose struggle does not change the schedule. Rule 5. Simple routine loop. Same trigger, work, close. Discipline collapses when you make every day a new decision. Most people burn their energy before they even start. They wake up and ask, when should I work? What should I do first? How long? Where do I begin? And that mental fog is not innocent. It is the brain trying to delay pain. A monster doesn't think his way into action. He uses a loop. A loop has 3 parts: trigger, work, close, and it stays the same until it becomes a reflex. The trigger is a fixed cue that starts the ritual. It must be ordinary and repeatable, not a perfect mood, not a perfect time, a concrete signal. After I brush my teeth, after I pour coffee, after I sit at my desk, after I put on my shoes, same cue every day. Then, the work is a fixed starter sequence. You don't begin with creativity, you begin with momentum. The first 5 to 10 minutes are always the same kind of task. Low friction, high certainty. Open the document and write the first paragraph. Review yesterday's notes and outline the next step. Do the warm-up set, do the first problem set. You are teaching your nervous system that starting is not a mystery. Then the close is a deliberate end. You don't drift out of the session. You lock it shut. You write a single line that says what you completed and what the next action is tomorrow. You reset the workspace. You shut the laptop. You leave the room. This tells your brain the job is contained. No loose ends. No anxiety. Why does this matter? Because when your routine is a loop, you stop relying on motivation to get started. The trigger pulls you into motion. The starter sequence removes hesitation. The close reduces mental clutter so tomorrow feels lighter. And once the loop is automatic, the work becomes inevitable. You don't need to be excited. You just need to hit the trigger. Rule 6. Make hard work automatic by removing choices. Every choice is a leak. What to do first, when to start, how hard to go, where to work, which tool to use. Each decision feels small, but it taxes the same mental currency. By the time you reach the real work, you are already tired. Then you call it burnout. It is not burnout. It is decision fatigue disguised as destiny. A monster builds a path so narrow he cannot wander off it. You do that by locking in defaults. Same start time window, same location, same playlist or silence, same equipment laid out the night before, same document open to the same page, same first task, same timer length, same shutdown ritual. The goal is not to be creative. The goal is to be automatic. Here is the darker truth. Your lazy self survives by offering alternatives. It will not fight you head on. It will distract you with options. One more video, one more snack, one more tweak to the plan, one more day to prepare. Choice is the disguise of avoidance. So you remove the menu. You pre-decide the minimum. You pre-decide the first action. You pre-decide what happens when you don't feel like it. You pre-decide what you do when interrupted. You pre-decide when the session ends. When the moment arrives, there is nothing to debate. The path is already built. This is why uniforms work. This is why rituals work. This is why soldiers don't wake up and invent the day from scratch. The moment you start treating your discipline like a military system, your emotions lose their vote. And when you remove choices, hard work becomes as normal as brushing your teeth. Not exciting, not heroic, just inevitable. That is the goal. Not to feel strong. To be unavoidably obedient to your own plan. Rule 7. Study and work under pressure method. Pressure is not the enemy. Pressure is the test that exposes whether your discipline is real. Most people need peace to think. So when deadlines close in, when eyes are on them, when the stakes rise, their brain turns into smoke. They panic, they overthink, they freeze. Then they call themselves not built for stress. No, they were simply never trained inside it. Here's the method. You stop treating pressure like a special event and you start manufacturing it on purpose. First, you work in short, brutal blocks, not long, romantic marathons. Under pressure, the mind needs a tight container. 15 to 25 minutes is enough. Long enough to create output. Short enough that your fear can't build a palace. Second, you define the only metric that matters. Visible progress. Not planning, not researching, not organizing. Output. A solved set. A written page. A finished slide. A submitted draft. Pressure hates vagueness. It needs something concrete to bite into. Third, you add a threat that doesn't ruin you but forces intensity. A timer, a public checkpoint, a hard cutoff where you must ship something imperfect. Perfectionism is the luxury of people with no deadlines. Under pressure, perfectionism is cowardice dressed as standards. Fourth, you create a reset ritual between blocks. Pressure makes people spiral because they carry the last block's frustration into the next one. Your reset is physical. Stand up. 1 minute of controlled breathing. Water. Sit back down. Same posture. Same opening action. You are teaching your nervous system that pressure is not panic. It is a signal to execute. Fifth, you practice this when life is calm. That is the secret. You don't wait for the exam, the meeting, the deadline to train. You train the pressure response weekly, so when real pressure arrives, it feels familiar. Because the goal is not to eliminate stress. The goal is to become the person who performs while it exists. Rule 8. Consistency in adverse situations plan. Anyone can be disciplined when life is polite. The difference is what you do when life gets sharp, when sleep breaks, when work explodes, when family pulls you apart, when money tightens, when your mind is loud, when the environment becomes hostile and you start living in reaction mode. Adversity doesn't destroy discipline. It reveals how fragile your system is. So you build a plan for ugly seasons. First, you switch from ambition to survival mode on purpose. You stop chasing personal records. You protect your core outputs, your daily minimum, your essential routines, your health basics. If you try to run a peak schedule during a crisis, you will break and then disappear for weeks. The monster doesn't disappear. He downshifts and continues. Second, you build a 2-tier schedule. Tier 1 is your minimum chain, the non-negotiable that proves obedience. It must fit anywhere. Hotel room, bathroom, parking lot, 10 minutes before bed. Tier 1 is your identity maintenance. Tier 2 is expansion. Extra work only if the day allows it. If not, you don't punish yourself. You simply stay alive in the system. Third, you create emergency windows. People fail in adversity because they wait for the perfect block of time that never arrives. You stop waiting. You use fragments. 15 minutes, 10 minutes. One focused block between chaos. The monster does not need a cathedral of time. He needs a door. Fourth, you protect recovery like strategy, not comfort. Under stress, you will crave numbness, screens, junk, escapes. You must separate recovery from anesthesia. Recovery restores your capacity. Anesthesia steals tomorrow, so your recovery becomes clean and controlled. Walk, shower, short nap, simple meal, then back to procedure. Fifth, you accept that adversity changes the pace, not the mission. The goal is not to feel proud during hard times. The goal is to stay consistent enough that when the storm passes, you are not rebuilding from zero. A weak man collapses in bad seasons. A monster tightens the system and keeps moving. Rule 9. Identity shift plus proof tracking. Your discipline will never be stable if it is only a behavior. It has to become a verdict. Most people try to force habits onto an identity that contradicts them. They say, I'm lazy, but I'm trying. I'm inconsistent, but I want to change. I always quit, but this time is different. Your brain hears that and laughs because your past is evidence. Your identity is the court ruling based on that evidence. So you flip the courtroom, you stop chasing motivation, and you start collecting proof. The identity shift is simple. You become the kind of person who does what he said he would do, not perfectly, consistently, and you prove it daily with small, undeniable wins. That is what proof tracking is. Every day, you record one line. Did I hit the non-negotiable minimum? Yes or no? That's it. No journaling novels, no emotional essays, just a verdict, because the mind can argue with feelings, but it cannot argue with receipts. You build a chain of evidence so long that your old identity has no oxygen. The brain starts to adapt to the facts. It starts to expect follow-through. It starts to cooperate because resistance no longer works. And here is the key. The proof must be visible. A calendar with marks, a checklist with dates, a simple tracker you can glance at in 2 seconds. You are not tracking to feel organized. You are tracking to force self-respect. When you see a chain, you stop wanting to break it. When you see gaps, you feel exposed. That discomfort is useful. It is pressure without drama. Over time, you stop saying, I'm trying to be disciplined. You start saying, I'm the kind of person who doesn't miss, not because you said it, because you have evidence. And once your identity changes, discipline stops being a fight. It becomes your reputation with yourself. Rule 10. Relapse recovery protocol. Relapse is not the disaster. The disaster is the story you tell yourself after relapse. Most people don't fall off because they missed a day. They fall off because they turn one miss into a confession. I'm back to being weak. I ruined everything. I always do this. And that shame becomes permission to spiral. A monster treats relapse like a technical problem. No emotion, no drama, procedure. Here's the protocol. First, you admit the miss in one sentence. No excuses, no autobiography. I missed today. That's it. Long explanations are how the ego protects itself. Short truth keeps you in control. Second, you trigger the minimum immediately. Not tomorrow, not Monday, not after you reset. You do the smallest non-negotiable version as fast as possible to break the pattern of avoidance. The goal is not to catch up. The goal is to reestablish obedience. Third, you run a clean autopsy in 2 questions only. What was the trigger that led to the miss? What boundary was missing? Not why you're broken. Not what your childhood did. Just the mechanical failure. Phone in bed, no plan for travel, overbooked evening, hunger, stress, ego, whatever it is, you name it like a scientist. Fourth, you install one patch. If you install 5 new rules, you'll rebel. So you add one barrier that prevents the same relapse. Put the phone outside the room, schedule the minimum earlier, pre-pack the workout clothes. Block the first hour, 1 patch. Fifth, you refuse debt behavior. No punishment workouts, no 12-hour grind to make up for it. That is emotional repayment. It creates burnout and then another relapse. You return to standard pace. You rebuild consistency, not guilt. And finally, you apply the iron law. Never miss twice. 1 miss is an event. 2 misses is a pattern. A pattern becomes identity. You don't let it get that far. Relapse is normal. Staying down is a choice. The monster doesn't beg for motivation after a slip. He returns to procedure and keeps walking. Rule 11. Weekly monster test to harden the system. Discipline gets soft when it never faces resistance on purpose. If every week is comfortable, your standards quietly drop. Your mind learns that you only work when it's easy. And then, the first real crisis arrives and you discover the truth. You were training under perfect conditions. You were not training power. So once a week, you run a monster test. Not to impress anyone, not to punish yourself, to prove that your system works under stress. The test has one purpose: controlled discomfort with a clear finish line. Here is how you do it. You choose one hard constraint and one output. Constraint is the pressure. Output is the mission. The constraint can be time pressure, a shorter deadline than usual, or environmental pressure, a noisy place, or fatigue pressure, do it after a long day, or choice pressure. No music, no coffee, no perfect setup, or social pressure, someone watching, a public accountability checkpoint, one constraint only. Then you define the output, something measurable, a set amount of work that must be completed inside that constraint, a draft, a chapter, a problem set, a training session, a focused, deep work block, and you treat it like a ceremony, no negotiations, no, I'll do it later. The whole point is to rehearse obedience when your brain is screaming for comfort. After the test, you record one thing. Did I execute under pressure? Yes or no? Then you write one line about what broke first. Focus, energy, temptation, confidence. That is your weak link. That is what you train next week. Over time, this weekly test does something brutal and beautiful. It teaches your nervous system that stress is not danger. Stress is a trigger, and when real pressure arrives, you won't rise to the occasion. You will fall to the level of your training. So train like a monster once a week, then live like one every day. Discipline is not a personality. It is a system you enforce. You stop treating feelings like a green light. You treat them like noise. You move because it's required, not because it's comfortable. That is the first power. Then you build the spine of the whole machine, a non-negotiable daily minimum, small enough to survive any day, sharp enough to prove obedience. That minimum is your insurance policy against chaos. When stress hits, you don't pray for focus. You use a protocol. One target, hard start, physical anchor, aggressive boundaries, close the loop. Stress stops being a reason to fail and becomes a cue to execute. When the day turns ugly, you don't disappear. You reduce volume and keep the chain. You protect continuity like it's your name, because the real enemy is the gap, the silent drift into a new identity. You simplify your life into a loop. Same trigger, work, close. You remove choices so your lazy self has nothing to bargain with. You pre-decide the minimum, the first action, the boundaries, the ending. You turn discipline into autopilot. You train pressure like a skill, short, brutal blocks, visible output, a timer that forces shipping, a reset ritual between rounds. You practice it before the stakes are real so your nervous system learns to perform, not panic. When life becomes hostile, you downshift without breaking. 2-tier schedule, emergency windows, clean recovery instead of anesthesia. The mission stays alive, even if the pace changes. Then, you lock the identity with proof. One daily verdict, yes or no. Receipts that your mind cannot argue with. Over time, you stop being someone who tries. You become someone who doesn't miss. And if you relapse, you don't spiral. You run procedure. Admit the miss. Trigger the minimum immediately. Diagnose the trigger. Install one patch. Never miss twice. Finally, once a week, you take the monster test. Controlled discomfort with a measurable finish line. So your system hardens instead of softening. This is the whole game, not motivation. Inevitability. You wanted monster discipline. So understand what you're really asking for. You're asking to become a person who cannot be bought by comfort. Because comfort is always for sale. It sells you one more hour of sleep, one more scroll, one more excuse, one more delay. It sells it cheap, too, and the price is always the same. Your future? The disciplined man is not happier every day. He is not floating on motivation. He is not aligned. He is simply trained. He has built rules that his emotions cannot veto. He has built rituals that start him even when he's tired. He has built a minimum that keeps him alive when life gets violent. He has built a recovery protocol so relapse doesn't become a new personality. That is why discipline looks cold. It is cold. It is a refusal to negotiate with weakness. And once you live this way long enough, something changes. You stop needing pep talks. You stop needing the perfect mood. You stop needing anyone to believe in you, because you already have the only thing that matters: proof. A chain of days where you did what you said you would do. That chain is your power. Protect it. Like the video if you want the system, not the inspiration. Subscribe if you want more tactics that make you harder to manipulate, including by your own weakness. Comment the one non-negotiable daily minimum you're committing to, and the day you'll run your weekly monster test.